Welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive. We are so excited to get into this one with you.
Oh, absolutely. This is a very special one.
Yeah, it really is. For our mission today, we are working from an exclusive galley of Todd Fisher's upcoming novel, The Dream Makers. You asked us to explore the themes of this book, and let me tell you, the source material is just an absolute labyrinth.
Labyrinth is the perfect word for it,
Yeah,
honestly.
we are going to unpack a story that sits at this very chilling intersection of, corporate overreach, independent journalism, and a mass psychological anomaly.
Which is a terrifying combination.
It really is. But before we get into the massive trillion-dollar corporations and the shadowy cover-ups, I want you to start by putting yourself in a very specific, terrifying scenario.
Oh, this is the worst part.
I know, just bear with me. Imagine you wake up from a dream that felt just a little too real. You know the kind I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, where it takes you a minute to figure out you're actually awake.
Exactly. Where the edges of your vision don't blur, where the floor feels entirely solid beneath your bare feet, and the cold air actually, bites at your skin.
Ugh, horrifying.
So imagine going online to try and shake it off, only to discover that strangers across the entire country are posting about having the exact same nightmare.
And not just a similar theme either.
Right. I don't mean similar vibe. I mean the exact same nightmare, down to a very specific 5-digit code printed on a keypad on a locked door.
Which completely dismantles the one sanctuary we think we have left.
Oh, totally.
We operate on this fundamental assumption that our dreams are private, isolated spaces. The inside of your head is supposed to be yours alone.
Exactly.
So when Fisher strips that away, he introduces this level of violation that goes, far deeper than a standard thriller setup.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are looking at a massive collision course here.
Oh, a total train wreck waiting to happen.
Yes. On one side, we have this messy grassroots investigation being run out of a cramped Brooklyn apartment.
Yep.
And on the other side, we have the sterile trillion-dollar boardrooms of a company that practically runs the entire global infrastructure.
That's a real David and Goliath situation.
It is. And the central mystery bridging these two worlds is how a shared hallucination, something that technically doesn't even exist in physical reality, could possibly threaten the most powerful institution on Earth.
Right. And to understand the mechanics of that threat, we need to look at the man attempting to map the anomaly. Noah Sable.
No.
Yeah, Noah. He's an independent journalist operating a site called The Wire Room. And Fisher paints a very visceral picture of Noah's workspace on the third floor of this Brooklyn walk-up.
Visceral is a kind way of saying it's a complete disaster area.
It is so chaotic. Half-empty bourbon bottles, a makeshift green screen held up by mismatched clamps.
Oh, and the plastic skull wearing headphones on his desk.
Yes, the skull. He is basically a guy used to sifting through noise and crackpot conspiracy theories.
Right.
But hidden in the deluge of messages he receives, he spots a highly specific, organized pattern. He starts tracking this disparate group of terrified people who are all sharing identical dream architecture.
And the phrase dream architecture is so deliberate here, because these people aren't dreaming about, floating through clouds or taking a math test in their underwear.
No, nothing mundane like that.
No, they are describing highly utilitarian industrial spaces. These isolated individuals from completely different walks of life are all describing endless, cold, white corridors.
Mm-hmm.
They look up and see a silver sky that one person specifically describes as looking like...
Like milk with a light behind it.
Yes,
Yeah.
milk with a light behind it. So unsettling. And they see rows of sleeping bodies being pushed on metal carts.
Which is just grim.
So grim. And they see workers moving around them in color-coded uniforms, which the dreamers collectively refer to as white cloth.
And then there's the keypad.
Oh man, the keypad. Maya Ortiz, right?
Yeah, Maya Ortiz, a 19-year-old college student in the book. She leaves Noah this frantic voice note where she just recites the door code.
6, 7, 1, 3, 5.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that dreams, by their psychological nature, are fluid.
Right.
They shift, they morph, they rely on abstract emotional logic.
Yeah.
But the imagery Noah is collecting is rigid.
It's completely static.
It is administrative. It feels like an operating procedure rather than a subconscious projection.
Wow, yeah.
And that rigidity is manifesting physically. These aren't just night terrors that you shake off with a cold shower, They are leaving actual trauma on the body.
Oh, the paramedic scene, that was tough to read.
It really was. Fisher includes this harrowing detail about a retired paramedic from Staten Island. In his dream, he is shocked with a cattle prod while being dragged down one of these white corridors.
Just brutal.
And when he wakes up in his own bed, his palms are bleeding.
Wait, like he actually injured himself?
Yes. He clenched his fists so violently in his sleep that his fingernails sliced right through his own skin.
That is horrifying.
So the analytical part of Noah's brain forces him to focus on the WHY. Like, why do these completely isolated people who have zero connection to each other share such highly organized structural trauma?
See, I have to push back on the basic premise Noah starts with, though.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, if these people absolutely do not know each other and have never communicated, how can a dream be contagious?
Right. Scientifically, it shouldn't be possible.
It can't. Not unless they are all being secretly exposed to the exact same stimulus in the real world.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, I look at Noah's investigation like a reverse-engineered ghost story. He figures out pretty quickly that he can't just hunt the ghost. That's a total dead end.
Right.
Instead, he needs to find the accountant who is quietly paying for the haunted house.
That is a brilliant way to frame it.
Yeah.
Because interviewing victims of a mass psychological event only proves that the event is happening. It doesn't prove why it's happening or who is orchestrating it. To prove the anomaly is an artificial construct, you have to follow the money.
You really do.
You have to locate the institutional panic. You have to find the people quietly paying to sweep it under the rug.
Which means Noah has to pack his bags and leave that messy Brooklyn apartment.
Finally.
Yeah, right. The money trail takes him on a flight to Denver, Colorado to meet Dr. Celine McGuire.
She is such a great character.
She is. She's a clinical psychologist who moderates an underground, invite-only support group for these patients, which has the incredibly grim name, the Somatic Dream Distress Network.
Very clinical.
Very. And Dr. McGuire is the total antithesis of a conspiracy theorist. She is a highly trained, deeply controlled medical professional who is watching a pattern emerge that goes against everything she learned in medical school.
And it absolutely terrifies her.
It really does.
She is the one who hands Noah the key to the financial cover-up. She shows him heavily redacted medical and financial paperwork.
The paper trail is always what gets them.
Oh, always. And this documentation reveals a massive, coordinated effort orchestrated by a shell entity called the Harbor Light Foundation.
Right.
This foundation isn't conducting research, though. It is functioning as a cleanup crew. They are quietly paying off the families of the most severe dreamers.
And we are talking about massive payouts here, like lump sums of $25,000 or guaranteed monthly stipends of $3,000.
Life-changing money for a lot of people.
Totally. But the payouts come with a massive catch. The money is distributed at the exact moment these patients are transferred into involuntary psychiatric commitment.
And the bureaucratic language they use to justify locking these people away is just chilling.
Oh, it makes my skin crawl.
They do it all under the guise of an initiative called Continuity Wellness Guidance.
Continuity wellness guidance. I mean, it sounds like a yoga retreat, not a forced institutionalization.
Exactly. It raises an important question about how bureaucratic systems weaponize language.
Right.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of the novel, you see a systemic sorting mechanism at play. Dr. McGuire points out that the medical system often uses vague terms like complex condition or behavioral anomaly as literal drawers.
Drawers. That's such a bleak metaphor.
It is. They are filing cabinets used to hide symptoms that the medical establishment either doesn't understand or actively does not want to explain.
And the Harbor Light Foundation acts as the administrative hinge for this entire cover-up.
Exactly. They provide the financial lubricant to make sure these families sign NDAs and just look the other way while their loved ones are locked in a ward.
But paperwork only tells half the story. Noah actually gets to meet one of these patients in Denver, and it is the single most unsettling scene in the first half of the book.
Oh, you're talking about Tobin.
Yes, Tobin Rusk. Tobin is the entire reason Dr. McGuire is so terrified. Before all this, Tobin was just a regular guy. He was a commercial electrician, a father, completely unremarkable in the best possible way.
Just an everyday person.
Right. But he went to sleep 18 months ago and woke up, well, he woke up incomplete. Dr. McGuire uses the word sundered to describe him.
Sundered. Wow.
Yeah, his mind is literally fractured between two planes of existence. He physically exists in our reality, which he refers to as the here. But a massive part of his consciousness is permanently stuck in the dream space, which he calls the there.
And Tobin's condition goes far beyond traditional psychological trauma.
Fisher portrays him as suffering from a highly specific, bizarre form of aphasia.
Like his brain was rewired.
Exactly. The natural architecture of his brain has been completely overwritten. He sits in this facility and struggles to remember simple everyday nouns. He forgets the word for chair or window.
But he remembers the dream world perfectly.
Perfectly. His brain retains these incredibly complex operational phrases from the dream space. He doesn't call the other dreamers people. He describes the sleeping bodies on the metal carts as waiting meat.
Ugh, waiting meat. That is so disturbing.
It really is. And he talks about the workers in the colored uniforms reciting their functions like a manual. Right, the color coding.
Yeah. White cloth fixes, blue cloth counts, red cloth moves, black cloth ends.
Black cloth ends. I mean, it implies a horrific triage system.
Absolutely.
And then Tobin looks right at Noah, completely lucid for just a split second, and gives him this chilling warning. He says, "Do not sleep in their white room."
It's so creepy.
And he keeps murmuring this mechanical phrase that he hears repeating in his head: delay return window, drift point 4.
Drift point 4.
Yeah. And hearing that, Noah is faced with a massive realization. If these contagious dreams magically stop after the Harbor Light Foundation intervenes, and these people are put into psychiatric commitment.
Right, then the medical establishment isn't actually curing anyone.
No, they are just quarantining the witnesses.
Exactly.
It's like taking your car to a shady mechanic because the check engine light is on. Instead of diagnosing the engine, the mechanic just cuts the wire to the dashboard light, charges you $5,000, and tells you the car is fixed.
That is the perfect analogy. The underlying catastrophe hasn't been solved at all. The alarm system has just been disabled.
Right.
And when Noah realizes the sheer scale of this, that there is a massive, coordinated, multi-state cover-up labeled continuity wellness, he has to ask who is actually capable of pulling it off.
Right, because a cover-up of this magnitude requires infinite resources and absolute control over medical data.
Exactly. It forces Noah to look at the only entity on the planet with that kind of scale. He has to look at a corporation that sees the concept of continuity as its ultimate product.
Which brings Julian Graves into the crosshairs. Let's talk about the trillion-dollar savior.
Oh, Julian Graves, what a character.
Yeah, Julian is the founder and CEO of Helix Horizon. He operates out of the Horizon Spire in Manhattan, dressing head to toe in white, essentially surveying the city like a modern emperor.
Very theatrical.
Very. But Helix Horizon isn't just a tech company or a logistics firm. They are, for all intents and purposes, a shadow government.
Oh, absolutely.
They handle global water purification, deep space monitoring, emergency infrastructure, and the data architecture for half the planet.
It's massive. And Julian's entire philosophical argument, the thing he sells to the public, is that traditional democratic governments are fundamentally too slow and too bureaucratic to manage modern global crises.
Right, and we should point out, Fisher does a remarkable job making Julian Graves a compelling, almost seductive figure rather than a cartoon villain.
Oh, for sure. He's very persuasive. Graves argues that democratic governments were designed centuries ago around the ideas of consensus, debate, and representation.
And consensus takes time.
Exactly. But crises, like a sudden collapse of the power grid, a rapidly mutating pathogen, or a contaminated water supply, they do not wait for a vote.
Right.
So Graves views scale, monopoly, and unilateral corporate power not as an overreach, but as a moral imperative to prevent the collapse of human civilization.
He really embodies the logical extreme of disaster capitalism.
He does. And again, just to be clear for you listening, we're not taking a stance on the politics of this. We're just laying out the philosophy Fisher explores in the book.
Exactly. We're just looking at how the book frames it. And it's presented as the ultimate devil's bargain. He is saying, I can keep the lights on and the water clean, but you have to let me bypass all your laws.
Right.
And that philosophy gets put to the ultimate test during a live television interview with Elena Vale.
Oh, Elena is fantastic.
She is so good. Elena is the anchor of a flagship news program called The World with Elena Vale. She is a woman who is highly disciplined, ruthlessly prepared, and completely in control of her image.
Total professional.
Right. And Helix Horizon tries to demand a final cut review of the interview before it airs, which is standard operating procedure for a guy like Graves. But Elena completely outmaneuvers his PR team. She forces the entire sit-down to air completely live. No safety net, no edits, no takes.
It is a masterful scene. You have two titans who are entirely accustomed to controlling every variable in the room, suddenly forced into a live chess match.
Yes.
Elena presses Julian hard on the lack of transparency within the Helix Ocean and Deep Space Administration. She specifically zeroes in on classified data regarding a trans-Neptunian object known as Cassandros,
Yeah.
or KSD 7771A.
Wait, hold on. For anyone who might not be brushing up on their astrophysics, what actually is a trans-Neptunian object? Like, why is she grilling a tech CEO about a rock in space?
That's a great question. So, a trans-Neptunian object, or TNO, is essentially just any minor planet or icy body that orbits the sun out past Neptune. Pluto is actually the most famous example.
Okay, got it.
Usually, they are totally harmless. But Elena points out that independent astrological models suggest Cassandros is on a trajectory where it could fragment and potentially threaten Earth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but Helix Horizon, which controls the most advanced deep space monitoring tech on the planet, has suddenly classified all their own models on Cassandros. They are hiding what they see.
Right, and when Elena hits him with that, Julian totally evades the direct question about the fragmentation models. Instead of giving her data, he pivots to this sweeping, grand philosophical defense.
Typical politician move.
Exactly. He claims that everything Helix does, every secret they keep, is strictly to protect the future of the human race. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, this part gave me chills.
In the middle of this defensive pivot, on national television, Julian drops a highly specific phrase. He looks at Elena and says, "Survival is what remains after catastrophe. We're preparing for the receiving future."
The receiving future.
Yeah.
If we connect this back to how Graves operates, you see how he uses language as a cage. As Elena notes later in the book, Julian uses words like, "they're rooms." He makes you comfortable inside one before you even realize he has locked the door behind you.
Wow, that's such a good way to put it.
He is leveraging public fatigue. People are exhausted by climate disasters, supply chain failures, and systemic collapse. He uses that genuine fear to normalize corporate sovereignty.
Right.
He makes total, unaccountable control sound like a noble public service.
But the philosophical debate isn't actually what matters here. What matters is that Noah Sable is sitting in a delayed airport bar in Denver, surrounded by his chaotic scribbled notes and redacted Harbor Light documents, watching this interview live on a muted TV.
And it just clicked.
It clicks. He realizes that Julian Graves just used the exact phrase, the receiving future, that a traumatized, bleeding patient named Cal had screamed out in Dr. McGuire's underground dream support group.
Exactly.
Cal had claimed that the receiving future is what the workers in the White Rooms called their ultimate objective.
It is the absolute smoking gun.
Yeah.
That single phrase bridges the gap entirely. It connects the pristine, sterile, trillion-dollar worldview of Julian Graves directly to the visceral, bleeding palms nightmares of isolated, everyday citizens.
Yes.
But Noah is keenly aware of his own limitations here. He knows he cannot breach the fortress of Helix Horizon alone. He's just a guy with a plastic skull on his desk in a messy apartment.
Right, he doesn't have the clearance for that.
Not at all. To follow the Harbor Light funding thread into the heart of Helix, he needs someone with immense institutional power and credibility.
He needs the one person on the planet who just proved she can go toe-to-toe with Julian Graves and rattle him. He needs Elena Vale.
Yeah.
So Noah leverages everything he has. He tracks down Elena's incredibly sharp assistant, Priya, and manages to secure a highly irregular 10-minute meeting with Elena.
And Fisher sets this meeting on the top deck of the LaGuardia Terminal B parking garage.
It is such a brilliant atmospheric scene.
It really is. It's windy, it's freezing cold. You have the deafening roar of commercial planes taking off in the background. It feels so urgent and clandestine.
Right. And Noah doesn't waste time. He hands over the redacted Harbor Light documents, laying out the money trail from the psychiatric commitments directly to Helix Horizon subsidiaries. He asks Elena to use her network's vast investigative resources to trace the funding all the way to Julian Graves.
But Elena is understandably skeptical. I mean, she's a journalist who deals in hard geopolitical facts. Why should she believe this frantic guy from Brooklyn?
Exactly. Why should she risk her network's reputation on a handful of weird nightmares?
Right.
She's literally turning around, ready to walk away and get back to her controlled life. So Noah decides he has to test her. He starts dropping the specific phrases he collected from the dream victims.
Oh, this is so tense.
He says white room. He says blue cloth, body carts. Elena pauses, but she holds it together.
Barely.
Yeah, barely. And then Noah says return window. And Elena physically recoils. She visibly reacts to that phrase.
Which brings an incredible piece of foreshadowing full circle.
Mhm.
Fisher planted a ticking time bomb in the very first chapter of the novel, long before we ever understood its significance.
Oh, I completely forgot about chapter 1 until this moment.
Right. In Chapter 1, we were introduced to Elena's morning routine, which is rigidly controlled down to the absolute minute. We see the exact temperature she sets her shower to, the exact half grapefruit she eats while reviewing notes.
She is a woman who dominates every single variable of her waking life.
Exactly.
Mm.
But in that same chapter, we also saw the nightmare she woke up sweating from.
Yes.
She dreamt she was walking down that identical, endless white corridor. The floor started turning spongy and soft beneath her feet. And right before she woke up, through an invisible earpiece, she heard a producer's voice say, "Resonance drift at point 4. Delay the return window."
So think about how drastically the ground just shifted beneath our feet here. Elena isn't just a tough journalist reporting on a story about corporate corruption anymore.
Not at all.
She is intimately infected by the very anomaly she is being asked to expose. The woman who exerts absolute dominance over her waking reality is completely, utterly powerless against her own mind the second she closes her eyes to sleep.
It is a stunning piece of thematic irony,
Wait
and
there.
it brings all our main players into a terrifying alignment. Noah has all the puzzle pieces, but he has zero power to do anything about it.
Right.
Elena has all the institutional power, but she is secretly carrying the disease. And Julian Graves sits at the apex of it all, quietly building his grand vision of the future using the stolen subconscious minds of the public.
Which really forces you to take a hard look at the world we actually live in.
It really does.
I mean, we are constantly battered by rolling global crises, right? Supply chain failures, rolling blackouts, climate disasters, infrastructure collapse.
It's exhausting.
It is. So when things get desperate enough, how much of our autonomy, our privacy, and even the sanctity of our own subconscious minds would we willingly trade to a private corporation in exchange for the simple promise of basic survival?
And it's a trade-off that rarely happens all at once. It happens incrementally. You hand over your location data for a more convenient map.
Right.
You hand over your genetic medical records for faster healthcare. The line between essential public assistance and absolute private control becomes incredibly blurred, especially when public panic is introduced into the equation. Julian Graves offers a very real form of safety, but the hidden price tag is total submission.
And that leaves us with a chilling, entirely unexplored implication from the book for you to mull over.
Oh, I'm ready.
If Helix Horizon truly holds the keys to human survival, and if they view everyday citizens merely as waiting meat to be administratively sorted, like the sundered man, Tobin Rusk, warned us, what exactly is this receiving future getting ready to receive?
That is the ultimate terrifying question hanging over the second half of the book.
Is it possible that the Cassandras object out in deep space, that icy rock tumbling past Neptune, isn't an impact threat they are trying to deflect? What if it's an arrival they are actively preparing us for?
Wow.
And maybe, just maybe, those cold white rooms in the dream space are the triage centers where Julian Graves is getting the human race ready to meet it.